Hey everyone, this is day 12 of 31 days through Ezekiel and Daniel. If earlier chapters confront us with judgment and collapse, Ezekiel 33 confronts us with something more personal. Responsibility cannot be outsourced. Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel, Ezekiel 33:7. The weight of that sentence is in its opening phrase, I have made you. The watchman is not self appointed, self driven, or self validated. He is commissioned. In the ancient Near Eastern context, watchmen stood on city walls, scanning the horizon for approaching danger. Their responsibility was not to create urgency, but to perceive it and respond faithfully. If they saw a sword coming and failed to sound the alarm, the consequence was not merely systemic failure, it was moral accountability. If he sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, his blood I will require at the watchman's hand. Ezekiel 33:6. Matthew Henry notes that the watchman's duty is faithfulness, not outcome. The responsibility is obedience in warning, not control over response. This distinction is both liberating and weighty. It frees the watchman from results while binding him to truthfulness. In a generation captivated by influence but often hesitant toward warning, Ezekiel's calling reintroduces a forgotten dimension of love. Truth that interrupts comfort when danger is near. As John Bevere writes, the fear of the Lord restores clarity around accountability and reminds leaders that withholding truth carries responsibility before God. Love that never warns is not love in biblical form. Yet the tone of this chapter is not harsh, it is deeply redemptive. The watchman's trumpet is not the sound of condemnation, but of mercy extended. God does not warn because he is indifferent, but because he desires repentance. As I live, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live. Ezekiel 33:11. This verse reshapes the entire framework. Divine warning is invitation before it is judgment. James Gall describes the watchman calling as both intercessory and declarative, one who speaks publicly but also carries the burden privately before God. The weight of warning is never detached from the heart of prayer. This raises a necessary question. What does the watchman responsibility look like beyond the wall? It extends into spheres of influence, families, communities, workplaces, and spiritual environments. The Spirit still appoints discerners who recognize drift before collapse becomes visible. Yet discernment is not passive awareness, it demands response. As John Eckhart teaches, spiritual authority is strengthened through obedience to divine prompting, especially when it involves intercession or declaration. Silence in the face of clarity weakens stewardship, while obedience strengthens it. Ezekiel 33 also shifts the focus inward, emphasizing personal accountability in a way that removes inherited assumptions. The righteous are not sustained by past obedience if they abandon righteousness, and the wicked are not permanently excluded if they turn in repentance. Ezekiel 33:12 through 16. Covenant relationship is not static, it is lived in present obedience. As A.W. Tozer often emphasized, faith is not memory of encounter, but ongoing surrender. Perhaps the most sobering moment comes in the closing verses, where the people treat the prophet as a source of entertainment rather than transformation. Indeed, you are to them as a very lovely song, for they hear your words, but they do not do them. Ezekiel 33:32. Revelation without obedience becomes consumption without change. The danger is not lack of access, but lack of response. Joshua Giles has noted that prophetic environments without obedience risk becoming platforms of information rather than transformation. Ezekiel's audience enjoyed the sound of truth but resisted its weight. And yet the prophet is still called to speak. Faithfulness is not validated by reception but by obedience. When this comes to pass, then they will know that a prophet has been among them. Ezekiel 33:33. Vindication follows faithfulness, not performance. So the question remains quietly but directly, Where has God entrusted you with watchman responsibility? Where has clarity been given but response delayed? And where has truth been heard but not obeyed? The burden of the watchman is heavy, but it is holy.